So, good evening, everyone. On behalf of Women Economic Forum, I welcome all the panelists and the moderator on this wonderful evening. We are having a great day, and a lot of great topics are getting discussed, and we are getting insights from very resourceful panelists on various topics. So, and this topic, today's topic that we're going to discuss today, the relevance of blockchain to secure digital economy, in secure digital economy. I think this is one topic which interests everybody, and whether you like it or not, it's just that you love it, you hate it, but you cannot ignore it. Blockchain is that word. So we have a very eminent panelist on our panel today. The panel will be moderated by Sajeev, who is the chairperson and CEO for New Street Technologies Private Limited. We have Aditya Santanam. He is a chief product officer from Entrustant Inc. We have Dr. Millie Perry, ABC Art Business and Blockchain Community from Israel. Welcome, Dr. Millie. And we have Aishwari Gupta. He's a blockchain growth specialist and co-founder at BB, Polygon Technology and Blockchain. Welcome, Aishwari. Welcome, Aditya, and welcome, Sajeev. Now I have opened the session and I hand it over to Sajeev to take it forward. You will see me again at around 10 minutes before the session closes. So all over to you, Sajeev.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Women Economic Forum. First of all, a quiet note for Dr. Sonia Bashir Kabir, who was supposed to be part of the panel. Due to some unfortunate bereavement in her close family, she is not able to attend. We'll miss her on the panel. However, we got a very interesting group of people here, amazing people. I was just pre-conference, I was just discussing about the conspiracy that was hatched to keep me as a moderator so I don't talk and I get to listen to all these amazing people. I will start off by, taking off where Nisha left, which is blockchain. You either like it or you don't like it. Reminded me of a British ad for Marmite. You either like it or you don't like it. It's that spread that you put on bread. People absolutely swore by it on one side. People did not know what hit them on the other side. Pretty much that's what reminds me this whole word blockchain itself. Just to narrate an incident which brings blockchain close to reality, it touches lives. I was visiting one of the Eastern European countries as a part of my work a decade after the Iron Curtain fell. Countries were stabilizing, and I was working with Citibank, and I had gone to visit my business head there. Very interestingly, it was on the eve of an election day in this country. I will leave the country unnamed. And my business head, a wonderful woman, again, I'll name her as Anna, a woman with an amazing sense of humor. So she and I were talking about the elections next day. And I come from a country where democracy is touted, elections are big events. They're like festivals or acts of terror in some cases those days. When I was telling, this is good, you guys are moving very steadily and it looks like you guys are onto digital voting. You could actually go into a poll booth and press a button and anonymously elect your leader. This is amazing. And in India, those years, we did not have that kind of facility. So she said, that doesn't really matter. I don't really care because whatever digital voting we do, whatever machine we press our finger into, the data center is in the president's house. So that was so much more.
I don't know if to laugh or to cry.
Yeah. So, and then you look back and you say, if blockchain technology was there then, and today we're talking about actual democratization, actual democracy, actual blockchain, anonymously voting, controlled without the controller, centralized or decentralized. It's amazing to see how this technology can really shape the real life aspects of our planet. And that's what intrigues me, amazes me, and I'm happy to kick off this panel, I thought we should have a simple little wordplay on the whole topic itself, on the fact that uh, uh, blockchain's relevance to secure digital economy. I'd ask each of my panelists to choose a word from the title or a word that they associate blockchain with, and talk about that. And let me go with Dr. Millie first. This being the Women Economic Forum, and we happily have a wonderful woman on our panel.
Thank you. Well, first I had to say that, that the title of the session is Blockchain to Secure Digital Economy. And I think it's digital and economy. I mean, it could secure the economy itself, not only the digital economy. And I think it's wider than the usual economy that goes into the digital, or the we call it phygital economy, when you you brings together the physical economy or the physical world with the digital one that you have to present, or you have to have some digital twin to the real life. I think blockchain is contributing and will contribute to the security and to the sake of the economy and people and communities all around the world, society as a whole, not only the digital economy, because it's interesting that we human are focused in some problems and some challenges, but the technology brings out new challenges and new issues to deal with. For instance, ethical issues. Usually we're, struggle with our day-to-day life, and we don't focus on those ethical issues. And the technology raised or focused on some issues, some ethical issues that in our day-to-day life we don't talk about, and we don't challenge them. And I think technology can, especially blockchain technology, can make us better communities, better societies, better humans. My word, or some words that I picked out from the word game relate to trust. As I think all of us and the viewers can recall, no one at the business arena talked about trust, I don't know, 3 years ago. Or 5 years ago. Business talked about, dealt with money and consumers and power, and positions, but no one talked about trust. And once we got blockchain as a system or as infrastructure in our economy, people understand that trust is an issue, and start to talk about it, and have some conversation and dialogue about the importance of trust between us humans. The technology brought it up and focus and got our focus on this idea of trust and the necessity of trust between among us when we collaborate and when we have commerce and some economic activities within countries, between countries. And I think the issue of trust is I don't know, a higher priority right now. And without the blockchain, maybe we wouldn't, stop and think about it. So I think blockchain can bring new ideas and new focus on issues that before were neglected. My main interest at the academic side and at my business side is DAOs the decentralized autonomous organization that helps to preserve and to create trust between people or communities that do not know each other, and of course naturally do not trust each other because they never met before, and they probably would never meet at all in the future, but yet they can collaborate, and they can commerce, and they can have some mutual interest and activities. And I would like, with your permission, to say a few words in order to clear or present the idea of decentralized autonomous organization that we call DAO. So DAO is a kind of a creature, okay? It's an organization, of course, but a unique one. It is utilizing blockchain and smart contract technology to create better organization than we have today. We want to have flatter and more moral organization, more democratic and agile, meritocracy based, and governed by the code, that this should be a blockchain and smart contract. A DAO has no physical borders. If I have a community of regions, for instance, it doesn't have a border. It doesn't have to be in Europe or in India or in Israel or in the US. It could be international. And it's not just a community for communication and for dialogue. It could activate and brings their values and important issues and vision into action. A DAO has no central authority. We know the organization we know today. We do operate. Most of us operate within organizations for centuries now, and usually they are operated top down. We have an hierarchy that the board is on the top, and senior managers, and then C-level managers, and so on. And the people that are working, the workers or the employees within the organization, usually are only getting their some direction, and their work is not initiated by themselves. They are getting some orders, okay? And we want an organization that won't have a central authority, and with that, it can gain no one point of failure. Okay, in an organization, when the CEO is absent or, I don't know, dismissed or whatever, the organization is orphaned. There's no one to get to bring the ideas, and no one to get the orders, what to do, which direction to go. And we want to create some other kind of organization. We are aiming at a swarm-like organization, and horizontal, and they orchestrated millions, orchestrated millions of individuals, not just a few hundred and so on. It's like nature, like an organism, no hierarchical. Sorry.
No, I can hear the gritting teeth of the central bank governors, country presidents. When you talk about boundaryless, when you talk about in a world where Brexit is happening or has happened on one side, where boundaries are becoming more starker. This is a revolutionary thought, and I think DAO or DAO, as we fondly know it, is a step in that direction, which puts us directly in controversial territory with some of the centralized structures that are there. Amazing insights there to start with. And I think you took two key words, trust and the profoundness of the fact that it's not just the digital economy, the whole economy can be secured with blockchain. Let me now turn that over to Aishwari, who's again a chartered accountant by profession. I'm sure he has a lot more knowledge on the financial services, how this can work. What's your favorite word on the topic or the technology world of blockchain?
I'll say the digital economy. So when we talk about, I think I'll just pick up the words of Dr. Millie as well. So the trust that we wanted to create. So if I connect back to 1900s, 1990s, something like that, Nick Sabzo, who's also known as the father of smart contracts that are being built on blockchain, he wrote a white paper, and in that white paper, what he did is he went out and he elaborated the word trust. And when we talk about trust today, and in that white paper, he said that all the things that are happening today over the internet. So internet is an information layer where all the information is moving from one place to another. But now in order for you to move value, let's say some funds, if I want to make a payment or something like that, you have to actually go and depend on a third party. Now, this third party is something, when we're talking about this third party is no one but God, according to that paper. Because if they do not exist, if these third parties do not exist, internet just becomes an information layer and it cannot move value.
Well,
So
God
that is why
God today is Zuckerberg.
correct. So, and those are the things where we are moving towards, and that is the point where he I think in 93, that was his vision, where he said that these intermediaries, though they are a necessary evil. Why? Because if they do not exist, we cannot do the business. And if they exist, what they happen is the data that they have, they are often breached out. And what at that point of time, nobody cared in 1993 was privacy. We barely had internet. It was very new. Nobody knew how, or nobody owned a smartphone. So that privacy was not required at that point of time. But over the time, when we fast forward ourselves to today, and we see that digital economy booming, what has happened is there have been a lot of, you can say, entry barriers to a lot of businesses that are out there. And because of this particular reason, what happens is sometimes there is a monopoly, duopoly, or a lot of constraints into entering into anything. And because of that, what happens is a lot of people are not able to go out and are not able to do that business. With blockchain coming into the picture and decentralization happening, not just on the I would say the fund level, where we are doing the peer-to-peer transactions and everything, and also on the organization level where the DAOs are getting created, we're actually moving towards a borderless economy. And all the entry barriers that used to be there, they're reducing, they're going out. And that way, what is happening is we are able to go out and we're imagining a world. I mean, today, if I talk about the total value that is logged in the protocols, I would just compare it for someone, just like if you have deposits in your bank. So that is something which has already crossed more than $300 billion in all the blockchains which are there. So that is where what is happening is we're seeing a global transformation happening. A lot of boundaries being pushed aside. There is no geological boundary that is there. And we're creating an environment where anyone and everyone can come into the picture. They can build, they can basically be there. Nobody has to restrict them. They cannot deploy themselves, or they can stop. Anyone can stop them. And that way you're unleashing the true potential of any individual. I mean, just to conclude, I'll just say that one thing that has happened here is, for me, coming out of an environment which was technology, which is blockchain, and me, someone who does not know how to code, it was something when I used to talk in my organization, in my earlier organization, say that let's work on blockchain and all those things. There was a proper compartmentalization that was done. So Ashura, you are there for this particular work, which is related to finance. You shouldn't go to marketing. You shouldn't be working on technology, all those things. But now when we move, when I took my move forward into the technology world and working in this world, there is no one who's actually coming out and saying, Ashura, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And for me, it has really helped me to launch the potential that I had from within me. Me as a person who had been a finance guy, working in strategy, marketing, and everything of the blockchains. So yeah, that is something which makes the blockchains an unleashing.
I identify with that, Aishwari. The same, I can't code to save my life, but I am not being denied a place at the table when I talk about blockchain because it corresponds with a real business application. And that's definitely one of those things that we can see that this technology is brought forward. Trust, you said, is your keyword. And I can see that trust is gaining a lot of territory here. Aditya, over to you. Do you have another word that you would like to kick off with, or are you going with the trust bandwagon?
When we talk about blockchain, I think trust is something that has to follow and it's expected to follow. But I would probably add another word along with it, security and trust. So the reason why I would like to separate both is, I come from a world where, I began my career coding. So I've been coding for the last 10, 12 years. Something that strikes me as blockchain, right? I've looked at blockchain, right from the early Ethereum, Bitcoin stages to the Hyperledger Fabric stages to what it is today. There are three fundamental things that drive, blockchain, right? So one is, identity. The second one is an asset, and the third one is transactions on top of an asset. If you see at a very, very broad level, right? So these are the three main things that drive a blockchain. And something that fundamentally the world was after, for a very long time. I would go with what Aishwarya also said, right? So people wanted to actually invest on blockchain assets. People wanted to gain momentum out of it. They wanted to reap in the benefits that it had on the markets. So that was all people were after, right? So, but something that actually at a very later stage started gaining momentum was identity and ownership of that particular asset, right? So that is something that started gaining momentum a little later. So that is something that actually intrigues me because, identity and ownership is fundamentally the most important factor more than the asset itself, because it determines the actual value of that particular item that you're going to hold, right? So be it, say, for example, let us take Dow, for instance, right? So there is an asset that is getting transferred from an organization A to organization B, right? So how do I know that organization A is an actual owner of that particular asset, right? So that's a bigger question. So now, I started liking it when blockchain started taking shape towards creating that particular identity in the market. So we've started creating blockchain ecosystems, especially to cater to that. And blockchain is not just been on the, what do I say, not just on the crypto side of things, but now it has started going towards an identity focused public blockchains as well. So that is something which is very intriguing. And I myself have been in that space for the last 2.5 years, where I've been developing applications on top of something called self-sovereign identity. So what that essentially does is it tries to give the onus of that particular information to that particular person, and that information is not available anywhere else but with that particular person. Right. So we've had a lot of crypto wallets before, but this is, something to do with cryptographic algorithms, and it has also got to do with, how you communicate with that particular asset in the ecosystem. So now, I think, the world right now is becoming more connected as we speak, right? So we are now in a tandem, or at least in a very interesting space where we are trying to connect the identity of things with the blockchain asset of things, right? So which is creating a lot of beautiful things, because I could actually see a lot of interesting companies coming into existence. So even yesterday I saw one very interesting acquisition that happened on the identity space, where a blockchain identity company was acquired by something like a company like Avast, right? So Avast acquired that particular company. So what that essentially says is, we will be seeing a future where the identity aspect and the security aspect of things is getting connected with the whole ecosystem of crypto tokens and NFTs, right? So NFT itself was a beautiful tandem where, identity and this comes in, comes together, because you're creating an identity and trying to make a transaction out of it. So this would be my very interesting keyword, because because of the obvious reason on how the world is progressing. And so that's the reason, Sajeev. Yeah.
Great. So trust plus identity, and that's so I can see a lot of trust, some identity, And words like DAO, words like NFTs, and surprisingly, into a blockchain conference, it took, I think, approximately 23 minutes for the word Bitcoin to have been uttered, and that came from a third panelist. So, brings me to a natural question which plagues everybody's mind. We'll tone down the blockchain aspects of our conversation and go down to the digital economy and the economy part of it. Economy is full of people. People create the economy. It's about the people, right? Now, how do we explain that a technology which is associated with the B word, the Bitcoin word, which is a bad thing in many people's minds, is all about anti-money, money laundering. It's about uh, thieves, guys in masks, probably, whatever. How do we convince that blockchain would secure the digital economy? And let me quote a couple of phrases that I got from the internet. And when this is what a person who would be doing something new on the blockchain, the Google, right? Blockchain itself is not dangerous, but if we start using decentralized blockchain as a complete substitute for our traditional transaction methods, then I'm afraid it would destroy the very human foundation of financial system. There's a guy called Abhijit Naskar. You can Google him. That's one. And then another phrase, the main advantage of blockchain technology is that it is supposed to be more secure, but new technologies are generally hard for people to trust. And this paradox can't really be avoided. That's coming from Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum.
Yeah, Vitalik Buterin, yeah.
So I mean, take these and take what we are, take our title and say, we're trying to secure the digital. We're convincing, I'm convinced, by the way, how we convince people that, blockchain is relevant when it comes to securing the digital economy. Let me start with the reverse order. Aditya, you go first, if I may ask you to.
Yeah. Sure. So that's actually a very interesting point to look at, Sajeev. So the way I would think about, bringing in trust to the people is once again going back to the last thing that I said. Providing, say, okay, let me start with this example. See, what has UPI actually done to the entire economy, right? So UPI is an excellent example of how things have got democratized in India, and how the power of financial transactions is even with a small vending, a small roadside shop, right? So even they have an option to actually trust and then make transactions on their mobile device, right? So that's something that UPI is empowered. And I believe, what blockchain can actually enable as a part of trust is to bring in that trust into the hands of each and every person, right? And make transactions are far easier. But this is number one, because I'm talking about it from the point of view of using crypto wallets and making transactions using it, right? So this is number one. But the second one is, of course, the fear of the fiat currencies getting ruled out, because there are a lot of government schemes and a lot more that is currently dependent on the fiat currency side of things, and being socialist economies throughout can actually have a big impact on blockchain, because there is no control whatsoever. However, when we look at it from a top view, right? So just segmenting it, with respect to the exact target audience who are tech savvy and who are ready to use Bitcoin, and then talking about the security aspect of it, I believe we need to actually empower them with the right security with respect to their handheld devices and what exactly that it can enable them. And I believe the companies starting from my own firm to the big firms such as Apple, I think are now inclined towards creating identities in order to make transactions securely on the web. And I believe that could be a great start towards, blockchain getting adopted as a part of the ecosystem, and also creating a common standard on an international forum for someone from India to interact with someone from Israel, right? So I believe that could be a base platform that could be set.
Great, thanks, Aditya. Let me go to Ashwari, and I saw you raise your thumbs up. I'm sure you like the question a lot. Let's hear from you, Ashwari.
So good. The points that you've made is something which is very true. So coming to your first point, when we talk about a lot of people going out and saying a lot of illicit transactions happen on the blockchain and maybe on the Bitcoin network, I would say almost 98% of the people who have tried to go out and do this have already been caught. That's a fact. So when we talk about a parallel economy where you have a bunch of cash and you're doing those Hawala transactions and you're pinpointing and saying that Bitcoin is something which is enabling you to do all those things, first of all, that's a wrong notion to be given to the public. Why? Because none of those people are caught. And here 98% of the people have already been caught. If anyone wants to see an example of it, you can simply go and look at one of the TED Talks, which was given in 2017 when we had gone out and when we had done something on the Silk Road one. So all the people behind them were caught out. So that is something which is very interesting, which a lot of people do not understand and know. So first of all, here the way everything that is happening on the blockchain leaves a digital dust. And when what Aditya sir said about the identity, slowly and steadily, somewhere or the other, what will happen is you are bound to use that fund somewhere, which is going to connect back to your financial system where you have done your KYC. So this is something where we have to go out and integrate the system in a way that such things cannot happen. But this way, what is happening is all those people who are trying to do such things, they're being caught. So that's a notion which people need to understand. And second thing is, which is very interesting by Vitalik, which he said. And when you talk about that, when we talk about people changing their nature, I can relate to it very much. Why? Because even when demonetization happened and people like me, fully dependent upon having a wallet with just like a $5 or $10 or $20 in cash in our wallet and completely driven by cards and digital payments, a lot of people who are maybe at the age of, let's say 20 years, 30 years senior to me, they would not want to change that behavioral structure that they have in their mind. They still want to keep a lot of cash in their hands because that makes them feel like, okay, this is something that I have. So yeah, that is a lot of changes that you have to do, and that is a psychological change. So it will not come very easy. I think when we talk about the Indian diaspora, the digital payments, when they started with Paytm, nobody wanted to use it. The moment we had COVID coming in between and demonetization coming in between, everyone started adopting it. So it's more of a way where slowly and steadily adoption will happen. So that is the second point. And the last point that I want to say here is, whenever we're talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency, what I feel personally is, if you have to create a decentralized structure, which has to be available across the globe, without a cryptocurrency, you cannot do that. Simply because the way those networks would work, talk about Ethereum has to pay the gas. If you have to go and interact with the Ethereum blockchain, you have to pay the fees in Ether. Think about paying those fees in US dollars or INR or whatever currency, maybe GBP. What happens is you again link them back to the financial systems and they again become slow. So the motive is defeated. So when you talk about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, yeah, there are a lot of use cases which might not use cryptocurrency. If I take the example, I can take the example of TREX platform, which has been which is created by RBI. It is using the blockchain technology to ensure that there is no data duplication or there is no bill discounting happening in duplication. So there is no cryptocurrency use. But when we're talking about certain use cases where we are creating that whole ecosystem, these cryptocurrencies form a very important part, and they cannot be simply just neglected, saying, okay, they were just a part and they should be ignored. Why? Because they are very much required. Today, if I talk about the enterprise solutions that are being built, those enterprise solutions, if they are being built on public blockchain, the fees that you will pay for the transaction to go through will happen through that cryptocurrency on which your transactions are happening. So you cannot ban them.
Right. That's very interesting, isn't it? It's a case of the kettle calling the pot black. where all the major transgression that we've seen with currencies has been US dollar denominated. Anything that goes wrong goes there first. And yet it is the reverse when it comes to the image that cryptocurrency is built. You also mentioned, Aishwarya, a very interesting point that, the custodians of the current economy are the large banks, the central banks, and so on. They're the balance sheet owners. So they're the ones who need to get on board to be able to take that step forward. And I've had instances where, I know that Aditya mentioned UPI, which is the Unified Payment Interface, which is a great initiative by the NPCI, which makes payments easily possible from any corner, from a wallet to a account and so on. I've had the honor of working with the Israeli clearing systems decades ago when direct debits were possible by corporates who directly participate in the clearing system without the intervention of banks just being trusted places where you park money. Now, how do you convince the stakeholders, these important stakeholders, banks who believe that, me being a banker, I can be a little more generous in commenting about bankers, that, we know this, we know what trust is, we own the balance sheet, we believe our technology is superior, we are controlling it, we need it that way. That's really the challenge. And Dr. Millie, what are your views on how these stalwarts or the giants of the industry can be brought together? How can we convince them that this is the right technology to take that place?
Well, I have to say that I usually try to persuade or think about a story or a narrative. Okay, when I'm talking to bankers and decision making and students as well, and I'm trying to present the idea that somehow in the ancient time, when we lived in a village, and I wanted to sell my father a cow, everyone knew that I was the owner, because the memory, the wisdom of the people were focused, because we were a very small community. Since then, when we went to the big cities and we don't know our neighbors next door, and we do transact with other nations and other countries, we had to establish this kind of trust and the public memory. And I relate to the blockchain as a system of memory. This is a huge sheet of facts. Okay, people do not and could not in the economy we live in remember every transaction that is occurring. And since we need to put all the memories, all the transaction in a central place, and we don't want to use intermediaries, we ought to have a central database in order to write our memories and the transaction and all the facts. And I'm trying to distinct between the technology and the crypto coins, because this the crypto is it's kind of a tool. Okay, the system itself and the mechanism of registering all these transactions, this is the main issue for me. And we need to transact in this system with our token, because we can't go into this database, because this is represent our identity or our transaction or our organization in order to write the rights or the transaction and so on. So the system itself, it doesn't care. It's objective, okay? What people would do, what the humanity would do, and the ethics of the humanity would do, this is the main issue. And as you know, atom, you can use it for clean energy, and you can use it for malpractice and harm people. The humanity, we people has to decide how we can use this technology for the benefit of the community, the benefit of the world, for our benefits. And I think, for instance, the big corporates and the banks and decision making, they are very concerned because the power is taking from their hands. Till now, they were the people that decide what will do and how, and the blockchain dismissed them, doesn't need their services. And to let go and dismiss this control that brings with it a lot of money and prosperity for very few people. This is the main issue of democratization, okay, that the blockchain brings to the world, and not only the cryptocurrencies and tokens and so on, NFT, whatever. I think there are so many visionary values that we bring to the world, and it's required shift of a paradigm shift. And this is change is very hard for human.
Fabulous thoughts, Dr. Millie. I think we've come to about 40 minutes since we started, and I think it's hard to see how time flies. But I'm going to do a final question, which I will prompt, and I would like that question answered and your closing comments, which will just give us enough time to hand it back to Nisha. So this is the Women Economic Forum. Let's talk about women and their role in technology. I may be taking it beyond security, but I think it's relevant. Is there a role for blockchain for enhancing the engagement of women in the digital economy? And this is a very pertinent question, because not only because this is the Women Economic Forum, but in a lot of countries where there is a possibility for technology to leapfrog from the legacy to the new world. These are the exact countries where women are not as empowered, and where a lot of empowerment can happen. So I'd like to go with that as a lead question, and then also have you answer or give your final comments overall on your views with the topic and the technology. So let me start in the middle with Aishwarya, and then spread outwards.
Thank you. So basically, when we talk about women, one of the biggest things, we need more women in technology. That's something I think everyone will agree here. We need more of them. And in order to go out and boost this thing, what happens is if I talk about a lot of initiatives that have been taken from the community or from the blockchain side itself, there are a lot of initiatives where you want to go out you can go out and produce, or you can participate in a lot of things if you're a woman. And like I can talk about, or let's say when you start, the first thing is if you want to educate yourself towards the blockchain side, if you want to go out and learn and be among the people across the globe and understand how the technology works, there is something called Gitcoin, Gitcoin, Gitcoin. And Gitcoin is something where what you can do is on the Gitcoin Gitcoin, there is a education initiative which is known as kernel. There, what you can do is, if you are a woman, the full amount that is funded for you, and you can go out and learn from them. That is the first thing. And when you go and take the first step of learning, the second step is when you want to go out and build. So as a company, and as Polygon as a company, we have various grants as well, where you can come build with us. We have the tech support, we have all the supports that are required for you to go out and build. So I think the biggest thing that I want to say here is we need a lot of women out there, who can build, who can create a lot of solutions. There is no such male dominancy or anything where you say that the males are superior in this technology. I absolutely do not agree to that, if any thoughts are there on that process. And that is where I would say that yes, a lot of people are required, a lot of support is already present. All you have to do is you have to take your first step. And then let's say when I think when Dr. Millie will talk about it, she'll tell you how DAOs can be something where you do not need an application forum. And one of the biggest problems that most of the females today after marriage go through is they are not able to go out and they're not able to get back to work because of maybe the life that they're living here in India, or maybe some of the responsibilities that they have to take care of. And that is where the community as a blockchain and as a DAOs, when we talk about them, we're giving them the opportunities. There is no entry barrier and talk where people are talking about, hey, you were not there on work for 1 year. Where exactly were you? No, we do not care about that. We care about the knowledge that you bring to the table. We care about the experience that you bring to the table. And that is where the true power of something which is still something where all the things are required. So all the things are ready here. All you have to do is take the first step. So that is something that I want to say.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Ashwari. Aditya, your views, please.
I think, what Aishwarya said, that was very important point. So we need more women in tech, of course, but one thing that I believe blockchain aids in this entire process, or any other tech for that matter, is it is a pure skill game, right? So you have the skill, you have the tendency, you have the mathematical mindset in order to write algorithms. Then I think the gender bias at that particular point of time is killed, right? So there is no gender bias as such. And the blockchain has enabled, marketplaces and ecosystems that was otherwise not available before, right? So today we see, millions of people coming forward and creating a very beautiful NFT asset and putting it out on the market. And, they probably have a decentralized identifier to their name, right? So that essentially means, you don't know if it's an Aditya or Aishwari or, a Miley, or, you don't know the gender behind those assets. So it's pretty much an identifier that is backed by them, and they make a sale and they make millions of dollars today, right? So it's pretty much, I think we are in a stage of time where the gender bias, or the gender, knowing a gender and making a sale and moving to a marketplace is all gone. And I believe we need more on the tech side. We need more women on the tech side, who can come up and, and who can code. And I'm also super happy to notice that there are so many, women in tech communities that are coming up. Typically my city itself, I see that at least in a month, 2 conferences happening for women in tech. So which is a good thing. And I believe on the marketplace side, we are already, ensuring that the gender bias is non-existent. So it's just a matter of time where, there is a complete level field where people compete.
That's very well said, Aditya. And any closing comments on the technology itself from your side?
Yes. So Sajeev, one thing that I also wanted to actually mention, right? So very interesting to what Miley also, Dr. Miley had also said. So I believe we, as as a part of the technology journey that we've had on blockchain so far. So we had the public blockchain game that was going on. I mean, that's still going on for a very long time. And we had a private blockchain game, right? So where enterprise platforms like Fabric and all had had all come up, and enterprises typically had a mindset that anything private and controlled, that is private and permissioned, is something that that would match their ecosystem. But there is something intermediate that has come up these days, which is actually gaining a lot of momentum, which is public and permissioned, right? The advantages of a public and permission blockchain is you have a public verification, a verification capability with a permissioned onboarding. So that would essentially eliminate the mining part of the entire, blockchain ecosystem. right? Which actually creates more friction, and it can also actually to an extent stop the adoption of blockchains, right? So I believe there was something called a bank chain that was started in India, where 32 banks had started coming together, and they formed a private blockchain ecosystem on Fabric. And that did not go so well because there was no public verification that was available, and it was typically like a cartel that was held by all these 32 banks. So they did not want that. So I think a public permission is a good intermediary game where this entire thing could be headed in the future. Because even just imagine, even if all the countries had come together, they would still know who's coming in, and they would still have a good control, at the same time have good leverage, because it's also public and it's cryptographically sealed. So I don't think any country can come in and then make a decision or scatter something in between, right? So I believe that is where things could be headed. So this was definitely something that I wanted to say. And of course, this along with identity is always the future.
Fabulous. Thank you, Aditya. Dr. Millie, over to you. And I'm very happy to come to the end of the conversation and have a woman talk about the relevance of blockchain and how to engage women in the technology. Over to you.
Well, I have to say very humbly that we're at the World Women Economic Forum, and we have a panel with 3 males and 1 female. I think I raised my case. We're still in the challenge. Okay, it's very naive to say that there's no gender gap and everyone can get into the skills issue. A lot of women do not have the basics ability to get into the technology world, into the finance world. Usually technology and finance are combined, and the rulers are totally, males. I think everyone knows that women are 50% of the community, 50% of the humanity. And I think countries that would like to develop have to focus on this issue. If the economic arena will include only males or mainly males, the potential won't be met. Okay, so it's not enough to put it on the very lean shoulders of women and girls and married women that has to deal with the family and nurture the children. Usually, in most places, this is the women role. And say, okay, they had to deal with that. They have to push forward, and they have to learn by themselves, and they have to get this grant and the other grant. I think government has to put it as a main target if they want to succeed and to bring their countries this frog leap we want to jump, and to provide a lot, much more aid and much more options and much more even role models. All the successful businessmen, they are men usually, and if I'm a newborn child, a girl, 10 years girl can see that all the successful people that deal with money and technology are males, she wouldn't think of getting into this arena to begin with. So we have to have some successful and people, women you can follow, women that you can put into your dreams. To be like them and to follow their steps and to see what they've done and how they progressed. I'm sure education is very important part of it, and there are a lot of initiatives dealing with technology and women in the in the blockchain arena and so on. But I'm sure the grassroots, I'm usually very fond of grassroots initiatives, and I believe in the power in the hand of people. But in order to utilize this power, you ought to have some basics skills. I went to learn in the academia, I'm in the university. I'm not sure all the women have this opportunity around the world, not only in India, in developed countries as well. And I think countries and government has to put this issue as a main target. If they want to have this frog leap, they have to have the other part, the other 50% of the community with them.
Right. Dr. Millie, if it's of any consolation, the fact that Nisha and Sonia was supposed to be on the panel, so
Yeah.
with you, I think we may have here. If it also some more consolation, I represent two companies. I am the chairperson of She Commerce, which is a women last mile distribution entity. And New Street Tech, we've created a blockchain platform which delivers microfinance to over 100,000 women in India. So
Right.
we're going in the right direction, and hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
definitely.
remain so. So, I mean, coming to the close of the panel, it's amazing discussion that we had. And time flew as I thought it would with the thoughts and insights that all of you brought. Just to quickly capture in a nutshell of what you all of us concurred or came to a conclusion on is, I'd put it this way, that there is a profoundness to the blockchain technology. We have inventors of things, the computer, Charles Babbage, cryptography, Alan Turing's contribution, or email invented by Shiva Ayyadurai, but with blockchain technology, there is an entity called Satoshi Nakamoto. We do not know whether he's a man, woman, human being at all, or a machine. We don't know. And that is the essence of the universe itself. The universe itself, we do not know when it started, where it's going, when it's ending. So there's that profound relationship between the technology and our human life, the universe. I would take away all those wonderful techie terms that we used, DAO, NEF, NFTs, trust, all those aspects which consensus mechanisms, smart contracts, there are plenty. But to the world, what I would say this panelists agreed on is that this technology is here to stay. And as Dr. Millie put it in the opening statement, it's not just securing the digital economy, it probably will secure economy, the whole, secure humanity as a whole, and as with all other interventions, one needs the right application. And I will also pick on what Aditya and Aishwari referred to: women, gender agnostic, decentralized, autonomous, anonymous organizations. That's the future, and blockchain is here to stay. Thank you very much, all of you. It's been wonderful speaking to you, and thanks to the Women Economic Forum. Great show. Thank you for hosting us and allowing us to do this panel. Over to you, Nisha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think what a great conversation. I'm not a feminist, but I'm very much pro women. So when I hear we are doing so much, and as rightly said, it has to be compulsory subjects for women to get into technology, then only they are going to buck up and deal with it. So on that note, thank you so much, Sajeev, Dr. Millie, Aditya, and Ashwari. I think the points that you brought to the panel was very, very insightful. On behalf of Women Economic Forum, a heartfelt thanks for taking out time and doing this. And from WEF, we would like to award you as an exceptional leader of excellence. Each one of you are going to get your award through email within 15 days. And thank you once again for taking out time.
Thank you very much.
session. I can
Thank you.
few of you on LinkedIn. So we shall keep in touch and have a very, very good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.